Happy Tuesday there, Maverick Currency traders. This is Rob Reinhold. Let's jump into it. In this session, we're going to be talking about the news of the day. We got the PPI report out of the US. We're going to look at the market and we're going to see if we can make any trades. I'm going to keep today's currency recap fairly short because we are less than 24 hours into the US CPI report tomorrow, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of activity until that. So I'm going to be focusing mostly on that report.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
We had a fairly lively day in the equity markets today with about 3 or 4 intraday moves, but other than that, we didn't have a ton. Overnight, we had the Japanese market crash almost 2%, and then the Hong Kong market in Shanghai went up. So again, mixed overnight. We were a little bit weak coming into the morning, and then the US PPI report came out, and it was a very good report. They were expecting 0.4% on the headline. It came in at 0.2. They were expecting 0.2% on the core, and it came in at 0. So the markets jumped up, opened up about 1%, and then sold off immediately, went negative, had a rally, sold off again, went negative again, and then really had a little bit of a run into the close. So ultimately, what does that mean for all the currency markets? We had a decent day in the Forex market. The reason I say it's a decent day, on a great day, you typically get 1 or 2 currencies that go up around 1% or down 1%. And you can see today the best currency was the euro, up 0.5%, the yen down just over 0.5%. But everything else pretty much in the middle. So if you were playing the right stuff, it was a decent trading day. But if you were playing around like pound Aussie or dollar CAD, there just wasn't much going on. And you can see the equities basically flat today, gold up a little bit, oil down, crypto up 2%. That's pretty close to flat on crypto. So today was definitely more of a flat day. Bitcoin up 2%, Litecoin up 3%. So the cryptos had a little bit of a bounce off the bottom end of their range. But when you take a look at the whole picture of the market, this wasn't a real clear, great trading day. It just wasn't. And if you take a look at the S&P, I really want to focus on what we've seen here lately. So we went to a negative here on the S&P, all the way back in late December. Here we went to a -1. Again, we're not quite to a -2, but we did just make a lower low. But that was a gap down, and we recovered by the end of the day. So I'm still not saying that we have broken that support line, and you can see today we broke down, and by the end of the day we had recovered. So look, we are definitely trading below moving averages. The moving averages are starting to cross and turn over. This is the first sign of bearishness we've seen in a while, really since last August. We'll have to wait and see how deep it gets. I've been trading for 28 years, and one of the things I've just learned, if the economy is still growing and the companies are still reporting decent earnings, the stock market goes up. Yes, there's pullbacks, there's sell-offs, there's even corrections now and then, but over time the market goes up. So I'm looking at this bearishness, really looking at this as some short-term bearishness. I'm not going any more than like a week or 2 out on any sort of bearish trades in my options trades. So look, this is where we are, and I don't want to bring too much about today's candle because today's candle was both good and bad. On the good side, that long lower shadow tells you there's buyers out there that are coming in at the end of the day and scooping stuff up. It's bad news in the fact that we got really good news. We gapped up and we didn't close up on the day. We actually sold off on the day with a red candle. So I don't want to bring up too much because tomorrow we have a major report with the US CPI report. And I think that it's going to be either a +1 or -1% or more gap when we get that news. So we're going to get a big green candle. And if we get a big green candle, then that all of a sudden is taking us back into this neutral range right around moving averages. where we're going to be more of a zero. If we get a big red candle, that will be a confirmation that, okay, we did break that support. And then I think there's going to be some more bearishness to come. And I think we at least go down and test this 5,700, which is about 150 points away, or about 3%. Tomorrow's price action at 8:30 a.m. is going to really change this chart. And I'm not really looking to jump into anything beforehand. So we already talked about the CPI report. And again, we'll go over that at the end. Other than that, I do want to point out this CPI report. If you are looking to make a trade, I think this is the only bit of news that's going to help move things. It's going to be very likely that there's not a lot of people taking bold positions less than 24 hours into the CPI report. I think over the Asian and the European session, I don't see a lot of movement. But we have this report out of the pound. So I do think if you're looking to make a trade, I think the pound is probably where you want to focus. So let's go ahead and look at the pound specifically and look and see what it looks best to pair up against. Let's take a look at the pound basket. So this is the pound basket on a 4-hour chart. Let's take a look at a daily chart first. So we've had this big sell-off and we are running into some support here. So as you can see, major support in this level here on pound. And we've had 2 long lower shadows where it pierced below and it recovered, telling me that we're definitely going to be here until that CPI report comes out. 2 things are going to happen on that CPI report. You're going to get a big candle down that falls, or you're going to get a nice bounce. I think you can play the pound both ways, but I think you have to wait for that CPI report to come out. So let's go ahead and run through these. Right now, the yen has been the weakest currency over the last 24 hours. And you can see, looking at a 4-hour chart, we've got everything bearish that we look for. Falling EMA, we got falling RSI, we got falling parabolic SAR. So right here, right now, it is heading down. I don't see any major support. Maybe there's a little bit of support in here. But, look, it's not a great trade. Going to the dollar has been the second weakest currency. It just made a new swing high, which I don't love to do pullbacks off of new swing highs. We did not see that. Well, we did see that on the end. So, yeah, I'm telling you, there's just nothing I love here. If you're going to be short pound, then probably euro is the best thing to be long against it. So really, I really don't like many trades here. Let's take a look at euro pound. If I had to make a trade, if someone had a gun to my head, said you've got to make a trade tonight, well, then it's going to be euro pound. Euro pound is going to be the setup. And you can see here, we just made a new swing high, which is nice. Again, we're seeing higher swing highs telling us that's where we want to be, sloping moving averages, strong RSI. Any bit of a pullback down to this 84.20 area would definitely be an entry here. But there's no way I would be getting into this before the CPI report comes out. I think you got to wait for that CPI report to come out. Maybe if it breaks out above this 84.50, that would be a better trade. But I think you really just have to wait until that CPI report comes out at 2 a.m. Eastern time. So for us in North America, that is definitely a late night for sure. Look, I'm not going to look at anything else. Well, let's look at Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is interesting. I'm going to go to a daily chart. I talked about this over the weekend, and I said, look, we definitely have this band that we're in. And buying at the bottom of the range is not a terrible trade. It's not a great trade. I don't range-bound trade cryptos. I only do trend trading on cryptos. That's my rule. Right now, it's range-bound. 92. Once it breaks below that 92,000, I think that's going to be a signal that it's either going to break and fall, or it's going to do exactly what it did yesterday, which was give you that long lower shadow. It seems like anytime it comes down, touches this point, we get these long lower shadows down there. It seems to be a good time to go long here. So if you are into range-bound trading, I think the next time Bitcoin breaks below that 92,000, you are absolutely watching it. And if it recovers and goes back up above 92,000, I think that's a buy right in this area, right between the 92,000 and 93,000 range. Other than that, again, as you can see here, we're right in the middle of the range. I'm not really interested in Bitcoin at all whatsoever here. If we look at our velocity score, you can see we got a bunch of stuff in the middle. The only stuff right now, again, the yen and the dollar are showing weakness at the moment. I don't think we're going to get much movement until the CPI report tomorrow. Euro and Swiss franc are showing some strength. Again, I don't see us getting a lot of movement. The only thing I see moving is the pound off of that CPI report. And I think, again, you want to pair it up against the euro if you want to be short pound. If you want to be long pound, sure, you could pair it up against the dollar or the yen. Either one of those would be fine. Me, I am not looking to make any of those trades. I am waiting for the CPI report. That comes out tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. There will absolutely be some killer moves off of this report. There's no question there's going to be big moves. The question is, where are you going to be looking and what are you going to be catching here? Dollar is obviously going to be the play. I think dollar long on a strong report. I think that's a no-brainer. And you could be short the yen. I like dollar yen quite a bit on that. And then you could also take a look at being short dollar, and then you want to be long like euro or Swiss franc. I think that's the trade going into the CPI report tomorrow. And if you do want to make a trade tonight, then I think pound is the one that's the most likely to move. That doesn't mean it will move, it's just the most likely. That is the market recap. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye, everyone.